Before this video begins, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Also, be sure to check out my affiliate links down in the description below so you can get discounts on different car mods and products. Alrighty, let's get into the drive. Hello and welcome! Today we're driving a 2022 Ford F-150 Raptor. This is of course a 4x4 model. I would like to thank Flood Ford Lincoln in Narragansett, Rhode Island for allowing me to both review and test drive this truck. Their link is down in the description below. Alrighty, so this is finished in black with a black leather interior and some carbon fiber accents. It has an MSRP around $70,000 starting. It's powered by a 3.5-liter twin-turbo EcoBoost V6, making 450 horsepower and 510 pound-feet of torque. This is mated with a 10-speed shiftable automatic transmission. It rides on 17-inch cast aluminum wheels and 315 wide tires all around, and it does have auto-locking hubs. This rides on front independent suspension with rear springs. It is 232.6 inches long, 86.6 inches wide without mirrors, 79 inches tall, and 12 inches of ground clearance with the running boards. To get all the details on this truck, make sure to check out my full POV review currently out on the channel, but this video is going to be about driving it. So, let's get this out on the road and see how it performs. Alrighty, so as for my history with trucks so far, I drove a Tacoma, but more relevant, I drove a Trail Boss, F-150, Silverado Trail Boss. I drove, and the Ram 1500 TRX. I drove that from the same dealership family. So that had 707 horsepower. This has 450. However, the Raptor R is coming out as a direct competitor from Ford to that TRX in the near future. But let's check out how this brand new F-150 Raptor performs. Alright, so it does have this cool shifter. It's a traditional shifter right in the middle. As you heard in that startup, this exhaust sounds crazy, so that's great. This will be a very fun drive. I will be careful, I'm not going to do anything too stupid, but yeah, this will be a very interesting drive. As you saw in the 0 to 60 to open it, it's a pretty quick truck. The 0 to 60 time will be up on the screen for the formally measured time. And then we will do some highway driving in just a moment, and then some smaller backroads driving. Alright, so my very initial impressions, also the pedals in here, something to note, are power adjustable, so that's really cool. You can make it however you like. So for the interior here, it is a black leather one, has a lot of carbon fiber accents due to a package, and also it has both heated and cooled front seats, as well as heated seats in the rear. As you can see in the truck in front of me, it has some great amber running lights. It has a giant sideways L on each of those sides. It has a fully digital gauge cluster, which is awesome. I really like that. And let's take this out on the highway. Sounds crazy, wow. I'm only in normal mode. Wow, this thing sounds amazing. A little bit of body roll. Obviously, it's a lifted truck. Nothing too crazy, though. It's actually pretty manageable. Yeah, let's stomp it just a bit. Love to hear those turbos. Wow. This thing sounds great. It actually handles pretty decent so far. It has blind spot monitoring, which is nice. Also lane departure warning with lane keep assist, excuse me. Has a giant steering wheel. This is a heated leather steering wheel. It has the largest shift paddles I've seen in a long time. Let's check those out. 9th gear, 8th, 7, 6. Alright, so it'll actually listen to you if you were to do that, so that's pretty cool. It'll pop out of manual, so that's good. And if you want to get out of it, you can just hit in or out of it. You can hit a button right here next to the shifter, so that's good. As for visibility in here, it's actually pretty good. So, you know, it's an F-150, it's great visibility, great truck. And as for ride, so far it's actually very good. Overall, the wind noise is pretty subdued, similar to in the F-150 Lightning. There's actually very little tire noise, which impresses me, considering this has off-roading tires, which are both larger and wider than, of course, a standard F-150. This is very, very pleasant to drive so far. Alright, so it will actually listen to you if you were to do that, so that's pretty cool. It's a very torquey engine because I'm, as you can see, I'm at it says 1.7, but that's the RPM, so that's at 1700 RPM. It's a fully digital gauge cluster. I think it looks very nice. It's similar in a lot of Ford products right now. And of course the brakes, wow, feel really good. That is crazy. You heard my my photo and video gear in the back starting to get knocked around a bit because this stops very effectively and very quickly. It doesn't feel like you're riding up crazy high, actually. It's pretty well planted. It has an upgraded suspension, of course. I'll put on the screen some very beautiful orange struts it has on here, so those are very cool. And of course, it's just intimidating. You're driving a very loud, powerful lifted truck. The Ford Raptor, since it came out, it really was unmatched for a good number of years, as really it's meant as like a Baja off-road truck out in the sands and stuff, doing jumping. So has a great heritage behind it, even though it's a relatively young brand and sub-brand and model. So yeah, that's really cool. I do like the transmission tuning. It's eager enough to kick up for you, and I'm only in normal mode once again. I am not in a sport drive mode or anything. I really like this. It's eager when you need it to be, and playful for sure, but it's actually very easy to daily drive, which is very good. Takes bumps like an absolute champ, of course, because you have amazing tires and suspension on this, so that's very pleasant. Those bumps I went through meant almost nothing, so that's great. You do get a very large infotainment system in here. I'm not sure of the exact size, but I'd guess 12 or 13 inches diagonally, possibly a bit more. And it does come with Ford's Sync 4 system. They previously had Sync 3. Sync 4 is, of course, the most updated version of said system. And I think it's very nice. I personally have driven a lot of Fords recently, and I like Sync 3, so that's very nice. The idle is great in here. Look at that, 500 RPM. Wow, that's a very nice idle. Very smooth engine. This currently has about 587 miles on it. So this is a pretty new truck, but yeah, drives like a dream. Pretty fast paddle response. It's a bit faster on the upshift than it is the downshift. Excuse me, so that's a bit expected. And if you just don't touch it for a while, it does jump back into normal drive, or it'll manage itself. You can hear a very distinct turbo whoosh whenever you're even at pretty low RPMs, like 1700 to 2500. When you're accelerating, you start to hear the turbo whistle, which is a very, very nice sound. Of course, for car enthusiasts like myself. As for the interior inside here, it's pretty good. It's similar to the F-150 Lightning, of course, because they're all based in basically the exact same platform. Minus this has a lot different upgrades than that, but this is it has some nice contrast stitching. It has a carbon fiber accent appearance package, so it has a giant swath of it there, then running here and also over there, and also a couple on the door panels, so that's very nice. You do get a B&O audio system, 7-speaker system to my knowledge, so that sounds good. Gives you some street cred if you're gonna go blast your stereo. Has a panoramic sunroof above you, covers both the front row and the rear passengers with a nice pane of glass. It is just a very impressive thing to have in a truck. It's pretty new to have panoramic sunroofs in trucks, so that's cool. And overall, you do get some, for your hood, you get a very nice shape, very easy to see out of, but you do get a bit of a hood scoop, which is nice. And additionally, you do get some side vents that are functional on the front corners of your Raptor. Let's make some noise. There we are. As for towing capacity, this can do about 8,100 pounds, and it does have a 1,410 pound payload, both of which are pretty impressive figures, considering this isn't really meant to be a big hauler or a towing machine, so that's cool. It does have all your typical trailer controls, does have Pro trailer mode, and it does have, of course, trailer braking. It does have full 4-wheel drive functionality, 2 high, 4 automatic, and 4 low. And as for the center console, you do get dual zone automatic climate control and all your typical perks of a pretty expensive truck. You do get a Qi wireless charging pad for your phone, and overall it's just, it's very well finished in here. A lot of nice material choices, a bit different from a standard F-150, of course, because this is a much more driver-focused, exciting model. The rear is really spacious. I'm 6 feet tall, I can fit back there endlessly, and really anybody else could. It's a very, very great use of space. And also, if you're going to use this as more of a utility truck, it does retain all the measurements on the rear bed, and also the steps and pole you can grab, as well as some clamp areas right dedicated into the bed, just like in the F-150 Lightning and in a normal standard trim F-150. So really they took a basic F-150 and they just upgraded it to be an absolute off-road beast. This thing is very powerful, very capable in what it does, but it is also very dailyable. Body roll actually isn't all that bad, which is nice. It's a very big, tall truck. 12 inches of ground clearance, I think, with still your running bars. Side running bars. But, yeah, body roll is pretty well composed. I actually like it. It's really pretty easy to take around corners. Certainly not something you're feeling like you're ever going to tip in this, at lower speeds at least, or around corners. It's not exactly sporty handling, but they really did do a good focus to keep it effective for on-road and not be extremely stiff. Because driving like this, if you do a little bit of an input, you really don't move. You're not going to be like swaying around like in a more economical base car. In the 10-speed, I do like the tuning in here. It's like I stated earlier, it's eager to play, but it's also extremely subdued actually in normal mode when you're really not pushing it too hard. Let's change the drive mode a little bit. So there's an off-road mode. There's Baja mode, everyone's favorite mode. Here's Sport. So let's see what that does. It does kick it up a gear. So I'm a little bit higher. If I do an input, it jumps right there, of course, up gears. As it should. Changes your gear look a little bit. I actually very much like this this gear setup. Info for your gauge cluster, it looks very nice. But we can just drive back in normal mode. I do like the exhaust setup in here because, as you heard, it might have been a bit drony inside of the sport mode, but as I'm driving here, until I'm about 1700 RPM, you can't even hear the exhaust. I'm not sure if it's an active exhaust with a valve system, but it is very, very easy to manage like that. It really does quiet down for you greatly, and it's very, unintrusive to drive around. Say you were going through a neighborhood or somewhere you need to be quieter with this very powerful and rightly loud truck. But it's actually very easy to manage in that regard. As for the price, I think it's pretty good at about $70,000. It gives you a lot for it because a standard F-150, say an upper trim one, can be in the $60,000 to $70,000 range these days. And this thing is a heck of a lot more powerful than those. You can do a lot with this Raptor. And yeah, I think it's a fair price. And you can do this. It's always an added perk, you gotta love it. Yeah, I don't think you can do that in a standard F-150. I mean, you can quote me if I'm wrong, but yeah, I'm pretty sure you can. So yeah, I very much enjoy driving this thing. In the twin-turbo 3.5 liter V6, it sounds pretty good. It doesn't sound raspy at all. Some V6s sound great, some sound kind of middle of the road, and a few actually sound weak, but I do like this one. It really does keep a good grunt to it, a nice deep tone, even through the higher RPMs, which is good. And it does give a better fuel economy than if they were to do a comparable V8, so that's good. Alrighty, as for my final thoughts on this F-150 Raptor 2022, I think it's a very, very nice truck to drive. It's not an outrageous price. I actually think it's a pretty good value prospect just on what it's capable of. It's a Baja truck. It's an off-road lifted truck. It looks insane, and it sounds very good as well. And at the heart of it, it has good technology of an F-150, and it also has a pretty nice, nice upholstered, nice fit and finish and trim, and yeah, it's still very capable as a work truck if you want to use it that way. So, I have seen a few people use it that way on job sites. Alrighty, thank you very much again to Flood Ford Lincoln in Narragansett, Rhode Island, for allowing me to both review and drive this truck. Make sure to check out my full review currently out on the channel so you can get all the details and the breakdowns about this Raptor. Alrighty, as always, drive with passion, and thank you very much for watching. Take care.